boilerplate React application, let's integrate it with an API. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the starting point of our application. Here it is. This is app, right? And we're just going to replace here the content, right? So let's replace all this content. Right, so this is in app.js, that's the entry point, and we can replace it, we can say div, and in here we're going to say h1, the whiteboard application, whiteboard app. There it is, there's our whiteboard app, and what I'd like to be able to do is get a hold of our data, right? Actually, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to implement this in a separate component, right? We'll call it the whiteboard component. We'll say new JavaScript. We'll call it the whiteboard app, maybe. And we're going to implement it as a React component. We'll say export. Default class whiteboard app, and this is going to be a React component, and what we're going to render for now is just a simple user interface, which is just this div here. And here we're just going to bring in that whiteboard app, which is just going to render the same thing. Okay. Was there a question? Andrew, is this lagging a bit for anyone else? Is the video lagging or the audio? Was the audio lost? Did I mute again? It doesn't look like I'm muted. No, not for me. Okay, we can hear. Okay, all right. There's a minimal lag. All right. Okay, let's continue. All right, so let's go fetch some of that information, right? So in the whiteboard app, we're going to go fetch some of those quizzes. So the way we do that is that we declare a state variable where it contains all the data that this component is going to render. So here I'm going to store the quizzes. I'm going to fetch those quizzes, right? And then I'm going to render them down here. So when the component first loads, we would like to go fetch this data from the server. And so the way we do that is we have a function that gets called when this component is about to render in the user interface. So this is a perfect time to go fetch all the data. And the way we're going to do that is that we're going to implement a function that does this. It's going to go fetch the data from the server, and which we're going to call when the component mounts, right? So let's implement the retrieval of the data in a function called find all quizzes. And so the way what we like to be able to do is what we're doing here in the UI, right? We want to be able to do things such as localhost 4000 API quizzes. All right, I think I stopped the quizzes. Let me run it again. The server stopped, so let's run it again. There they are. We want to generate this GET request, but programmatically. So the way we do that from a user interface from React is that we use a function called fetch. So fetch, you just give it the URL where you want to go fetch your data. And what comes back is a response from the server. This response contains cookies, it contains headers, it contains the IP address, the timestamp. It also contains the data that the server is responding with, right? So we're going to parse the response JSON body, right? And then that is going to contain, hopefully, the actual data of the quizzes. So these are all the quizzes, which we can then use to update the state variable here. We can say this dot set state of the quizzes equal to all quizzes. Once we have that, we can now render these quizzes. Right? We can say h2 quizzes, which is hopefully rendering. There it is, quizzes. We're going to render them as ULs. So UL is a unordered list, and we're going to render a whole bunch of LIs. So we can say, LI quiz A, right? LI quiz B, and so on and so forth. All right, we're going to render this as a list, but not hard-coded. We want to render it dynamically. So we want to iterate over all these quizzes that presumably came back from the server. So we could do this by embedding a little bit of JavaScript in here that's going to take the quizzes in the state, right, and it's going to iterate over them as a map. Right? It's going to iterate over them, and as it iterates over this array, right, it's going to take each one of the quizzes in the map, in the array, right, and as it iterates, it's going to return a brand new LI. Return a brand new LI for each one of the quizzes. Notice that it's not quite working. Let's see. Are we hitting it? Let's refresh. Network. Local, doesn't look like we're generating the requests. All right, we never called it. Let's call it in the component mount. So this dot find all quizzes. There we go. See, notice we have two quizzes out there, and it's rendering these QAs multiple times, one for each quiz. So let's go back and let's remove the hard-coded quizzes, right, and use the quizz's title, quiz.title. There it is, quiz 1 and quiz 2. So these are the quiz 1 and quiz 2 that we added in our Mongo database, right? And we can try it out, right? Just to make sure this is still working. So this is quiz 345. Let's insert. Let's go back. Let's refresh. There we have all the three quizzes here. We do have a console error complaining that the IDs don't have a unique identifier. That we can fix that using a key property. And we'll use a quiz.id as unique identifier. There is no, doesn't complain anymore. Okay.